Welcome. This is talk about PowerShell DSC and Octopus and how those two play together very well, and how we and Optiva actually started to implement those two technologies together so that we could benefit from both the good sides of PowerShell DSC and good sides of Octopus rather than suffer from the problems on both sides. Sorry, there is some kind of echo. I hope that it will go away. So, few words about myself. I'm a Windows engineer at Optiva. You can find me on Twitter as @Bielawski. You can email me at live, and I'm also working together with PowerShell magazine guys, and I try to provide content for them. This is my friend Daniel.
Yes, hello. I'm Daniel Bot, as pronounced in Dutch. I work at Optiva as well. I'm a Windows engineer there. I have about 8 years of PowerShell experience and not very active on Twitter, so I left that one out. But if you want to get in contact, use my email, please.
So, well, first of all, you need to know what we prepared for you today. So first, we will try to explain what the problem we were facing at Optiva, and once we explain the problem itself, we'll try to show you how we actually structured our architecture around DSC and Octopus. And yeah, obviously there will be a lot of demos because we kind of prefer to show things rather than explain things. And at the end, we will try to summarize it a little bit, and there will be obviously some time for Q&A. But if you have some questions during the presentations, there are not so many people in the room, so please go ahead, raise your hand, or just throw something at us, but not make it too heavy so that we don't lose conscious.
We have to be able to catch it.
Yes. And so, but at the end, there will be special time reserved just for Q&A. The problem that we were facing is that actually on the Windows side, when we were deploying applications, it was just click here, copy some files over there. Make sure that you don't select the file that contains the config from the application, because otherwise you overwrite the production one, and you don't want that because that's the only copy that we have. So if you overwrite it, nobody knows how to configure the application. Configuration wasn't known, so it was just the file over there. So we had situation once when the C program files all of a sudden disappeared. There were some rules in the backup solution that excluded C program files, so we kind of were lost. Fortunately, we had like the guy that has a brain bigger than this room, and he was able to reproduce it rebuild it from scratch. But still, it was really like terrible place to be, and we didn't have any kind of control, and consistency was just not there.
Yeah. So then we were tasked at Optiva to come up with a solution for this. So we first started off, when we started the project, we started off with just DSC. We thought of DSC, okay, this can get us into a state, that's what we want. We want to get into a certain state. So awesome, let's use that. Okay, so that didn't happen. We ran into multiple kinds of problems. And I think when I watched the opening of this of the conference, was really cool. I think you can look at DSC like that piano that started playing. That's an awesome instrument, and you can, create music with that, but it's so much better when you just add other products also in the mix. So that's why we started to look out for other products that could actually solve the problems we were facing. Because if you are deploying an application, a lot of times during the deployment, you want to do things that are not definitely, bringing something into a certain state. For example, you might want to back up a database. You can't really tell the database, go in backup state, but because that's not really a state for the database. And also, what we have, for example, is that we have orchestrated runbooks that are running against our application, but they shouldn't at the time that we are upgrading it. So that's where we think Octopus really comes into play, because Octopus is a deployment tool built for .NET applications. So why talk about Octopus on a PowerShell conference? That's because Octopus really treats PowerShell as a first-class citizen. every deployment step in Octopus is basically just a PowerShell script that's executed. And Octopus is very good at, well, executing those scripts on the agents and giving you back the information in a central management console where you can see how your script executed, if it went okay, and, well, maybe it didn't go okay, so you might want to start debugging, which we do a lot. Also on the conference, because before we joined, here we had some preparations to do. Okay, so a little bit about the architecture about Octopus. Octopus is built up in, itself is built up in 4 main categories. So in the middle, on this picture, we have the Octopus deploy server. And you can look at Octopus deploy as, well, this is the management server. So on the agents below, so in our different environments, there are Octopus tentacles. Well, Octopus needs a tentacle, right? So that are the agents that execute all the steps that you tell them to do. Then we have the Octopus database. And in the database, that's where all the configuration of the applications is stored. So you can imagine that when we want to deploy an application to test, we probably have different variables as we have in production. So that's what we store in the database. And, well, while we deploy the application, those variables will be replaced on the tentacles. And the 4th important part, and that's also hosted, in this case on the Octopus deploy server, is a built-in NuGet feed. So everything you deploy with Octopus, every application, has to be packaged as a NuGet package. And that NuGet package, that's what what Octopus deploys to the tentacle and then installs. Okay. A little bit more about our architecture then, because you will see a lot more of the products we use, about the instruments we have added into the mix. And what we first noticed is, okay, once you start deploying in an automated way, it's important that you have control over the versions of the different items you have everywhere. Because once you upgrade a PowerShell module, for example, and everything is dependent on that module, and you break something, because, well, that's a nice quote. I think it was on the DevOps Borat Twitter. He said, to make error is human. To propagate to all servers in that automate is #DevOps. So that's what we really try to prevent. So we keep the versions very strict. We control them everywhere. But that also we need a code repository. So that's the first part we added. And then when we want to do something with that code, we want to have something like a build server. Well, our developers already use that, so we could also use that for our purpose. The build server, in our case, it does 3 things. We have DSC configurations stored in our code repository, and once we update those, the build server kicks in and automatically compiles the mod for us and stores it at the pull server. So that's one. The second part is the developers, of course, also store their application configurations there. And once an application is, committed to the master, we will run the Octopack basically on the Bamboo server to create a NuGet package out of it and store it also. And the third part is where we do the PowerShell modules. Once we update the module, at the Bamboo, at the build server, a build triggers, and that one will store it, well, in our internal PowerShell gallery. At Optiver, we use Artifactory. In the demo, we will show you the private gallery that Microsoft showed us 2 weeks ago on the conference in America. And this is where we store all our artifacts. So once an artifact comes in here and we know, hey, that's an application we want to deploy with Octopus, there's some logic here that tells it, okay, bring that one to Octopus, and then at Octopus, we create a release. That can be done automatically, because when a NuGet package is added to the feed in Octopus, we can just say, okay, when you have a new package, trigger the build, or trigger the deployment, and it will start deploying. At deployment time then, it will get the parameters out of the database and deploy the applications to the tentacles. Now, the first steps we do here is because one of the things we missed in Octopus was when you define these steps, which you want to use for your deployment, there's no real good version management there. So what we have decided is, in each step, instead of, adding a lot of PowerShell code in there, just use a function from the module we have created. So once we get here to the deployment process, we first trigger, okay, install this version of the module, because I know that's what I need. Then the agent goes out to our internal gallery and starts downloading the PowerShell module it needs for this deployment. So we're sure there, because we manage the version of the module on a per application basis, we're really sure that that will always work, unless we change it, of course, and then we have to test it. Next, when we run the deployment here, we will use invoke DSC resource, because afterwards we can build the configuration, the new DSC configuration for this server, and store it on the DSC pool server. And then all the agents get pushed, they look up the configuration on the pool server and know, okay, this is how I should look like. And we know it will already look like that, because we just did that with invoke DSC resource. So that's the whole deployment process we have created for that.
Yeah, so time to move on to demos, the fun part. Let me just prepare a little bit.
Yeah. So we think, it's really about automation here. So we have also added some commands to, also create pull requests, merge pull requests on our internal repository. We use Bitbucket for that, by the way, but it doesn't really matter what you use. I would say use what you already have. So, and if everything is okay, we should have a pull request ready for that one. We can get the pull request.
Yeah, so the one thing that we also added is that we require review. So the moment you put some code, you create a pull request, there has to be somebody reviewing it.
And this already says, hey, friend, you require approvers.
Yeah, so it's important also, if you do that, to kind of remember to like notify people about the fact that they have something waiting for them to approve. So it's like, you can use different methods. You can send emails. You can, have some changes in the prompt. For example, my prompt in Optiva just looks like, like prompt that I have a lot of pull requests. Oh, yeah. But you can also use Clippy, for example, to notify you about the pull request that's waiting for you to approve. So it's your choice, but it's important that you kind of track it down, and you know that when the pull request is waiting for you, you actually, approve it at a certain point in time. It's not like it's blocking you from doing things. It's actually helping you to review. And we actually had situations where I would, for example, hard code something in the script and it would never work unless used on this one particular node where we actually did something. It worked obviously when I was testing it because hard-coded value was working there. But the moment I would distribute it to all of them, then it wouldn't work at all.
Yeah.
You can right-click this guy and he can go away.
And yeah, who doesn't love Clippy? And another part why we added the reviews is that, well, with PowerShell you can do a lot of automated testing. I mean, I can test that I have an example added to my function, and I can test that there's a description for my function, but I can't really test if that's useful. So that's also something that we really wanted to, well, add there. So now we'll approve this request, because I think, okay, Bartek did a good job with that.
Notice that he didn't read it. So that's level of trust we have for us. Actually, that's not the case. Normally, he would read it and complain about like every second line. So yeah, but yeah, at least you are sure that somebody's looking at your code, because you can make so many mistakes you can possibly imagine. And with the peer review, you can always like have this like constant. Hopefully not battle, but constant conversation. Okay, this is how we do it. This is how not we do it, or stuff like that.
And the other plus side is also that you are aware of what your colleague is doing, because I was talking. I don't remember to who anymore, but I was talking to someone at the conference, and he said, "Well, somebody pushed this code into production, which queried my perfmon every 10 seconds, and that totally crashed my system. If you got a system like this reviews in place, that will at least make you aware, okay, this is what he wants to put into production. And even if you have approved it, then you know, okay, maybe that caused this error now." So now we have approved it, and then we can, of course, also merge it.
Okay, so once you merge, as Daniel mentioned in the architecture part, we start to go to Bamboo. Bamboo is the CI server that, well, that's one important thing. If you have developers in your house, you probably have some tools waiting for you to be used. They already have smarts to how to use it. They will probably help you build your automation in the tools that they already have. And this is the situation that we had. The stash is not something we installed for ourselves. It was already waiting for us to take advantage. And not sure if you noticed, but we already have the stash with the color coding for PowerShell. That's not really an official release yet, but I contacted the guy from the Atlassian and I asked him, okay, I'm going to present stash and it looks like crap, do something about it. And they were really eager to help me with this. So now if you can look at the code, it's actually, we didn't see the code yet, but yeah. Let me just briefly show you. So if you open the script, you can see that it actually calls the code. Well, it's not perfect, but at least you can recognize the code as a code, not as like plain text. And you can't possibly imagine how important it becomes when you really have to review something. Because if you see something like that, you can actually tell, okay, this is the command, this is what happens, and otherwise you would have to just like, pull requests, pull the branch from the person that just requested your review and review it on the ISC. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do that.
This code has a lot of write hosts.
Sorry?
This code has a lot of write hosts in there.
The write hosts are there for a reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's there for a reason because it's Bamboo script, and Bamboo actually takes your write host output and will display that in the logs. So it's really important to have a lot of write hosts there. Otherwise, you won't see what's going on. So yeah, so that's why, if people will say write host is bad, if you're writing Bamboo scripts, just ignore those people.
Yeah. We just like to kill puppies.
Oh yeah, you can just go wild with just like machine gun on the puppies. So we just merged this guy. You can see 1 minute ago it just was merged. As you can see, we have tests here, right? So yeah, I won't surprise anybody that the tests that we use are in Pester, right? Is anybody in the room surprised still that we use Pester for tests in PowerShell? I don't think so, right? You had this name so many times during this conference. Okay, so you can see also that because of the tooling in Bamboo, we can see, okay, this is where I had some boo-boo. And this is when the problem that I had was fixed. So because we were moving things between our production and this test, Some of them like pointing to stash, they were pointing to stash our work, and obviously that didn't work because I was actually asking, okay, make sure that it's like the project name is fitting this. And so fun part about writing pester tests is that you can really do crazy things with them. My favorite is, let me just open the tests that we have. We just have one script. We plan to have like specific tests for each module, but for now we just have like general. So we just verify that the module manifest is the way it should be, in our opinion. So we have typical things like, okay, we check if the module manifest is actually proper, so it doesn't throw when you do the test module manifest. But we also check things like if we have any tags, because we want to, before we publish our gallery, we want to make sure that tags are there. We want to make sure that description is there and author is there, so that PowerShell get doesn't fail on it. We verify that this project URI and that it matches to the page that we store the code in. And this is the part that I'm especially proud of. It's the part where I actually do AST check on all the commands that we have in the module. On all the commands that we want to export, and I make sure that in the module manifest, those commands are exported. So in the end, you have, because the beauty of module manifest is that you can specify star in the exported functions. But it's not something I would recommend, because then the discovery of your module is like gone. If you are specific about what you have in your module, then the module discovery is way better. But if you do that, then if you have a function defined in your module and you don't specify in an export, then all of a sudden you just wrote like this 200 lines of code, but nobody will ever use it because he won't be able to see it. So that's why we have the test to just like open all those PS1s and just verify that everything is there. So we use Pester to test it, and once we are fine with that, we will publish it to gallery. And in the tests, in the plans, so this is how the Bamboo plans are actually just like automations that happen when you deploy something. We just, similar to what we described, we just have a function, scripts. So we won't put the code here. Instead, we will just call the scripts, and by doing that, we are sure that if we change anything, first of all our Bamboo plans will trigger, so we can verify that we didn't break anything by changing it. But also, if we change something and we run another plan, this plan will already use updated version of our script. So we always are sure that we are running. So it's not like we change it once and then we have to go to all the plans and change the script everywhere. So yeah, that's Bamboo. Okay.
Yeah, maybe one thing nice to show also about Bamboo is where we store the DSC configurations.
Oh, yeah.
Because we also update those in a dynamic way.
So yeah, we keep them, the partial configurations, because that's what we use. We keep them in repo as well. So in the repository, if we go to, well, this is not real, but this resembles what we have in a real production. So we have this DSC configurations where we have partial, and within it we have, for example, baseline. This is the script that we try to apply to all the servers that we have. So as you can see here, if I would change it, it will trigger. Do we have change prepared for that one? I don't remember. Let me check. Create a pull request. Hopefully I did that. No, no changes. Okay. Anyway, if I would change this partial configuration, it would trigger the job in Bamboo. I can actually run it manually. It won't do much now because, well, it will update the file, but the files won't change much, but still. So if we go here and I just select this update partials, I can just run it now. And all it does is just picks up the scripts from the repository, calls them. Sorry, it's really, echo is really, sorry for that. Calls them and generates the MOV documents, puts them in the right location, updates the checksums. So we, as like administrators, we don't have to worry about during this whole process. We don't have to think about that. It's just, we just make sure that we have the proper code in the stash. We just merge to master. The moment we merge to master, it will immediately go to pool server and wait for the clients to pick it up. So if I would go to client now that is actually configured to use those partial configurations and update partial configuration, it will work. Well, it didn't change much, so now the checksum probably is the same. But in normal situation, I would be able to get that. So PowerShell Gallery. I won't spend too much time on this one. We just installed this preview. By the way, it was a painful experience because there were some issues with one of the resources, but eventually we figured out how to work around the problems. But nice thing about it is that, well, as we mentioned, we use Artifactory. So again, we use something that was already there. Rather than build our own NuGet repo, we just decided to just take advantage of something that exists in our environment. And by doing that, for example, my colleague just thought, okay, by the way, you have this public PowerShell gallery. Okay, so maybe I want to create virtual repository for you. So now if I just do get module, I just point it to one repository, and we'll go first we'll return our modules, but if it won't find any module that I look for in a private one, we'll go to the public one and find it there. And obviously, we do that on the test side of things, not on the production. But it's possible. So if we decide ever to test something, we can always drop the modules without thinking about issues like if you have things like proxy authentication, and we have this, and it was really completely breaking the PowerShell gallery for us. So we could use this internal tool to actually work around the problem. So if we just get the repository, you can see that the repositories are there. I have more than just this one. I have also the public one. Unfortunately, we cannot get rid of this one. Sometimes I wish we could, because sometimes you don't really need it, especially if you don't have internet connection, then it's just annoying. I have also one in Proget. It was just part of the testing that we did, but eventually we just decided to build this private gallery because it looks nice.
So the node on you cannot delete the public one, that's a bug.
I know, and I know that it's supposed to be fixed soon. Or easy, yeah.
Internally it's fixed, but yeah.
Yeah, but we don't see that yet. But we're looking forward to it because honestly, if you have private gallery, then the public gallery is just annoyance and pain in the behind.
Yeah. And what we had a lot at deployment time is that servers are just waiting for 3 minutes because it's trying to contact something that's not really there, and then, well.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have some Optiver specific things. Those are resources, actually, so this DSC resources. We have also some functions that are just designed for just general Optiver functions, or Octopus functions that are just really for Octopus. And we kind of have this also hooked up with the Bamboo. So we have this modules in stash. If we update it, then the stash goes to Bamboo. Bamboo builds it, puts it in gallery. And we already kind of covered it, so that if we change our the configuration. So this is like the configuration in the repository. I can always change it. You can actually try it and see what happens on the Bamboo side. Probably will break, but yeah, let's go wild with this. So as you can see, we configured some things that we actually use. So we want to make sure that we have firewall disabled, because on the clients we don't actually, so on servers we don't actually use the local firewall. We have firewalls that the networks actually control. We make sure that WinRM is there, that the default listener is there, because we like the WinRM to work, or PowerShell remoting actually to work fine. So let's just change something that shouldn't break anything. This one will break it. Yeah, it's not like I can really do things, right?
Well, maybe you can update the pool server one, because I think we didn't call that one yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have a problem with the pool server. So the pool server was actually prepared here, but if you look carefully at the baseline, it actually at the end it just calls itself, because well, we need to at a certain point actually do something, right? So the pool server is defined, but that's it. We don't really call it, so let's just make sure that we have the pool server called here. Probably don't want tab complete. Let me just double check. if we don't have anything, yeah, just this one should be localhost as well. So for this repo, I don't have this review enabled yet because I thought, okay, let's just make it quick. So pool server, so let's just sync to this folder. No, I need to commit it first. So update to partial pool server.
Did you not like put the full thing, or you just put pool at the bottom?
Sorry?
You just put pool at the bottom of pool server.
Really?
Okay.
No, it was okay.
Okay. Well, if you see anything like that, don't hesitate to really call out because I'm really, you know, if I don't have tab completion, I'm lost. So let's just git push it now. So now that I actually have some changes, so now I can just new op git pull request. Yeah, some credentials here. And repository is above DSC configurations. Source branch is my branch, and title is whatever. So as you can see, it's really like that's how we work. So we don't open GUI unless we have to. Right. And now, because I don't require any reviews for that one, I can just get op git pull request. Wallet credentials, repository, and this is oh no, sorry, this is
DSC
configurations, yeah, configurations, yep, merge op git pull request. I don't think I need that one, right?
No.
Yeah, so I just merged it. You can go back to Bamboo because, well, we really love it. Well, maybe not love it, but we definitely appreciate how much it help us do things automatically. So update partials should trigger anytime soon. While we're waiting for that, because it may take a while, it's just Bamboo instance running on a laptop with like 6 or 7 other VMs, so it may be kind of slow. Any questions? Okay.
Why use a pool server if you can use Octopus to push configurations service directly?
That's a very good question. So the question is, why use DSC or pool server at all if you have Octopus? Well, Octopus is very good at putting the machine in the state that we want it to be, but it's not very good in keeping it in the state. So it won't keep it in the state that we want. And also, DSC is much more than Octopus, because Octopus is responsible for deploying specific applications, built-in applications, where DSC we use for just like generic servers as well. For example, I use it a lot for Bamboo agents. So it's really not just for Octopus, and by doing it together with Octopus, we can make sure that once we deploy something, it will remain in the state that we left it after Octopus finished its work.
It basically prevents people from manually editing the config files anyway, because once they do that, we will notice, and we can alert them, hey, you shouldn't do that this way. Use Octopus to deploy instead of manually changing files.
Octopus then to onboard the service to your pool server?
Yes, yeah. We control the LCM, the local configuration manager. We do that with Octopus, yes.
So
I will demo it later.
Yeah. So as you can see, the pool server MOF was just updated like a minute ago. So the whole automation worked, even though we just like kind of hacked it around now stage. That doesn't happen often, right? So yeah, back to the code. So I believe that's for the DSC part, that's it. Yeah,
Yep.
Floor is yours, Daniel.
Cool. So next part is really Octopus demo. Just question, who uses Octopus already? 3, okay.
And so you can maybe tell us what we do wrong, because we kind of learn, we try to learn it as we go.
Doing pretty well so far.
Well,
Do you use it also to configure network devices? Or
you have to use the sign in with Windows.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, Bartek, do you use it to configure the network devices as well? Or just
You mean Octopus or
Yeah.
DSC? Not really.
so just Windows boxes, Linux boxes, things like that?
Well, just Windows, because for Linux, guys use Ansible. And, well, previously it was Puppet, now it's just Ansible, I think. So,
Okay. So one of the issues we ran into when we were really working with Octopus, there was the problem with persistent data. Because you can update everything fairly easily, but once it becomes something that you might want to restore, all the DevOps tools don't really have a way of rolling back easily. And that's something what we, well, to be honest, that we missed a little bit in Octopus. So we thought, okay, how can we do that anyway? And implement it such a way that we can actually do a rollback. So for the demo we have prepared, so this is an application in Octopus, and this is our deployment process. So, well, here's what I thought about installing the PowerShell modules. We also disable the local configuration manager once we are going to deploy an application, because, well, otherwise it might kick in at deployment time and mess up the process. And what we do next is, well, create a database snapshot. We opted for snapshots because it's really very fast and very easy to create and delete. As in a backup, well, a backup can be fast if your database is small, but once your database goes to over a terabyte, a backup also takes quite long. And a snapshot there is, well, a matter of seconds. So then we, well, in this demo application, I will deploy some changes to the database, then enable the LCM again and do an application check to verify, hey, did everything go okay? So let's create a release for that one. And deploy it to the environment.
you deployed it several times, so it may fail at the moment, but we'll see how that goes.
It's always exciting,
Yes.
doing live stuff. Okay, so here it's installing the...
Any takers where it will fail? Any guesses? Like maybe bats?
Can you tokenize or embed the credentials inside of a boot?
Yeah, definitely. So,
Passed as a token into the scripts then.
yeah, I'm not really sure how they do it, but that's definitely you cannot really like echo the password in your process easily. Well, if you're really stubborn, you can, but it's really pretty secure manner of storing your credentials, so you don't have to worry about them at the runtime. So we had something like configuring the services, where it was required to have some passwords, because, well, the guys at our work, they don't really take advantage of service managed accounts, so they really insist on having like actual account that has actual passwords to use as a service. So we definitely needed that part to be done, and it was working pretty smoothly for us. So yeah.
So you can extract it from the code itself and put it into Bamboo.
In Bamboo, in Octopus, both of those tools support this kind of thing, so you don't have to worry about. So that's one of the things that we will definitely use in the future, because some of the partial configurations we have require passwords as well. For example, if you want to add a person to the group and it's an ID, the resource that we have, the X group, requires you to specify credentials. They don't have to be like high-level credentials, but still credentials nonetheless. So after presentation from Will and other guys, I'm happy that we didn't put like plain text everywhere, because, yeah, one user is enough.
Yep.
For those
just
guys.
Dangerous. Okay, so in the meantime, the deployment has finished. We can see basically all the steps went okay. But another nice thing about Octopus is that you can actually put in a manual action for the user to actually confirm, hey, did this change go like I wanted it to go? Well, in this change, we did some deployment to a database. That database is our test database here. And well, let me quickly do a query. Or slowly, because we're running a lot of VMs on this box.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just has 16 gigs of RAM. When I was buying this laptop, I was thinking that that will be enough, but yeah, I didn't plan for the presentation like this one, where you have like, I think 8 VMs running at the same time. All of them kind of heavy, especially Bamboo. It's Java, so.
It's Atlassian.
Sorry?
And it's Atlassian.
Yeah. So they not famous for customizing things for Windows. Maybe for Linux is more customized.
No.
Okay.
Shit, what happened? I lost my customers table in this change. Fuck, roll back. So,
Nice change.
no customers anymore. Well, so I can actually tell here for, okay, this change that didn't go well, obviously. So, all is green, but my application check that I can do here, I say, okay, this is not good, abort, stop. So, now we didn't remove the database snapshot.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. What I can do now is create a new release. And actually, I will deploy almost the same steps, but instead of doing a normal release, I do a rollback release. So we go through all the same steps again, but instead of, well, actually applying the changes to the database, I now, because I'm doing a rollback release, I now know, okay, I have a snapshot for this database, so I should apply that one.
The step 4 is essentially changing from create a snapshot to use a snapshot.
Indeed, yeah.
Well, actually, the step 4 is just skipped
Yeah.
in this case.
In
So
this-
we don't attempt to create a snapshot. We just, in the deploy database, we have a logic that say, okay, if you release, just use the SQL script from NuGet package. If not, just use our script that rolls back the snapshot. So
Okay.
now
Now I can go back to my database, execute my query.
so customers are back. Very important customers.
So that's how we implemented rollback in Octopus. And of course, well, in this case, we did it with a snapshot on a database. But yeah, you could also do this with a file copy with the files that you need to copy somewhere, or with a snapshot on a VM, or just.
What about when with the release, you change the database scheme?
Well, if you use snapshot, right? So if you roll back snapshot, it will go back to the state where it was before you did any change.
Yep.
So it's almost like, almost like VM snapshot. So you just take a snapshot, you do change, and then if you roll back, it will really go to the state that it was before, which is really nice.
The only, well, downside of snapshots is that you need to use SQL Server Enterprise Edition for that one,
Yeah.
which, well, can be a little pricey, but
Actually, we used that one before, so it's not like we bought it for the Octopus. But yeah, if you don't have Enterprise, then you probably need to just use backup. But then the question is, if you don't have, if you can use backup, if you don't need to use Enterprise, you probably don't have this huge databases that backup is a problem. So I believe that shouldn't be that big of an issue. Maybe one such syntax.
now I can actually
Oh yeah, for some approve.
say, okay, this change is okay, and then that one will probably fail because I don't have a snapshot anymore. Okay, doesn't matter. So another thing I wanted to show is the step templates that we use. So these are all the steps that you basically that we can use in a deployment process. And as mentioned, if we look at a step, this is basically the only code that is that visible in the back also? No, okay. Whoa, that's too much. Okay,
Oh.
that should be better. This is the only code that we really use in the step templates. just to make it very lightweight here, and we don't need to change anything when we change the code in the code repository. Instead, what we do at the project level is assign variables that we specify, okay, at deployment time, you should install this version of the module, and then everything is okay. And that's probably the last demo we have.
Well, we still can show the Mustard syntax.
Yeah.
So the thing that we like about Octopus is that consider that some of you maybe been in my XML session where I mentioned that I tried to solve the problem of changing configuration with my custom resource. That was a terrible idea. Octopus does so much better job with this, because if you have a project that really has multiple environments and you want to really have this different configuration in each environment, then it's very important to have some kind of methods to actually deploy it at runtime, change the configuration. So we, together with our friends from development, we actually created some functions to allow us to easily onboard application with just two files. Like there's a file that describes what the Mustard syntax would look like. So this special XML syntax with, I will show you in a minute how it looks like. And the final file, how the configuration should be set. And comparing the two files, we can just generate all the variables that are required, including the variables that are arrays. I see that this is not file version that we had. I modified it probably after I sent to myself the function, but still doesn't change the fact that you can see that those variables, I didn't type them in manually. That will be stupid. I'm a PowerShell guy. I just like to automate things. So I hope that one will work. So let's just try to. So this is how it looks like. I just specify. This is. Let me just maybe. Yeah. So this is how it looks like. You just specify the project name, specify the file that is like, this is the one that contains the special Octopus syntax. You specify the file that contains the actual configuration that you want to have in the given environment. You specify environment scope, so which environment it should go to. You say which mode you want. Do you want to merge or do you want to overwrite? We also change this in the way, what happened?
We're at the wrong path.
Oh yeah, let me sync again. Thank you. So yeah, in the background you can see how it was actually parsing this file, and now it because overwrite mode is when it actually just removes whatever was there, and John puts your variables in. Well, sometimes you probably don't want it, so we added some should process here. So yeah, I'm fine with this. And when we deploy this project, so if I look at the Mustard syntax file, that's how it looks like. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Actually, this is one, not the one. This is already modified one. I spoiled the surprise, sorry. So let's do code on Octopus app config. So this is what we start with. The syntax may look kind of strange. So you have two things. First of all, you have static variables, like single scalars, I would say. So just the name. But very often, let's say, like here, this is actually a real-life example. So this is from application that we deployed to production like 3 weeks ago. So actually really deployed to and people use it. So in some situations, you want to have multiple generated from the config. So in such a case, you would use this each syntax. So you just specify, okay, each item in this, it almost like for each in the PowerShell. And then you just kind of drop the value of the given parameter. So this is how the initial file looks like. If we deploy it, so we have this project somewhere here. I actually just deployed it a minute ago, but we can just run it again. No problem. So let's just release this guy. Save. Deploy to test. Deploy now. So this one doesn't do anything apart from the changing this syntax in the final file. So if you go back to the node where we deployed it to, probably created yet another folder, yes, _2, because that's so cool. And if you open the same file, already after the Octopus kicked in and this did its job, you can see that all of a sudden we have like this, like 100 of portfolios that we include, and some excludes, I think, or maybe not. Yeah, just one exclude. So as you can see, this happened automatically. I didn't have to spend too much time on it. So we had a tooling to actually onboard this. So comparing two files, put the information in the system. That one was also using the XPath knowledge. So you have to understand XML in order to write this function, or you can just use the one I wrote. But this one is not public yet. I will have to share it, but I still wait for my manager to approve it. Anyway, the beauty of Octopus is that you don't have to worry about those changes between environments because you just define it once, you put it in the variables. If you ever decide to change it, you don't have to use my script or function. You can just go there and just add things manually if you prefer. But it will pick it up immediately, and it will, next time it deploys, it will deploy it with these changes that you just applied.
It is indeed one of the cool parts about Octopus, because the product is really, it's super easily automatable, because there's just an API that you can call with PowerShell. It's just giving you JSON objects, so it's really easy to communicate with that API. And another plus about Octopus is that it's cheap, as in, well, dirty cheap. I think there's a free version for you to try, up to 10 nodes. Up to 60 nodes, you pay $2,000, and for the unlimited one, you pay $5,000. So for an enterprise product, that is really, that cheap.
So a few takeaways that I hope that you kind of take home with you. So application lifecycle, you definitely, well, I'm not sure if it's definite, but I suspect that you have some applications that you want to control, and then lifecycle requires this control because otherwise you kind of don't know what is running in your environment. DSC is very good at keeping your state, but it's not very good in changing it, and it's Octopus' role to actually do that. So they both work together hand in hand, make sure that the change is proper and the state after the change is also proper. You have to revise your code, and reviewing it is a really important thing because otherwise you basically don't know what will happen. And it's so easy to miss mistakes in your own code that it's really important to have peer review, not just like open it up again like next day and make sure that it's fine. And well, you have to, in my opinion, before you start installing Proget and PowerShell Gallery and all these things, just look around. Make sure that you don't have the tools already waiting for you, and the guys that will explain it to you already in your organization, because that's what happened to us. We didn't have to really do everything our own. They kind of shared their knowledge with us, and by doing this communication, we kind of avoid a lot of extra work that wasn't necessary, and was probably in the end it will be just like, why would you do that like that? We have this Artifactory waiting for you. Why would you throw in another Proget instance in our environment? So yeah, I think it's really important to have this conversation with the guys that use those tools already, meaning developers, right?
Yeah.
Usually.
Okay, any questions? Were we that clear? Wow. Cool.
It was just a small injection at the end. Yeah, our company is hiring, and I think that it's a nice place to work. You will work with guys like us, scripters, a lot of code that you will just pass by. We like automation. We like people that understand PowerShell and automation. So I think that's a very nice place to work. And we have this mix of devs and ops, so it's really nice to just join this organization. And very important for me, there's no corporation-like feeling, so you don't have big meetings and huge structure of managers that will just stop you from doing things that you want. Actually, this thing, the DSC, it was my idea. Then Daniel kicked in with the Octopus. It wasn't coming from top down. It was coming from up, down, up.
Bottom up.
Bottom up. Thank you.
Yes.
So that's it from us.
Yeah.
Nice nap.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.